Hello, welcome once again to another edition of the Coach's Corner program, and welcome to another year of the Coach's Corner program. I'm Jeff Ruth, along with Harding Boys basketball coach Donnie Worstell, and Don, here we are, start of another year.
Here we are.
Actually, it's not the start of a year. We've already got a couple of games under your belt.
We do. We have. We opened up last week with Kenton here at home, and then Saturday we played an afternoon game at Pleasant, triple header there.
So you split the Kenton game, and you beat Pleasant in a game that literally went down to the last seconds.
It did. Went to overtime, and then in overtime, right down to the final shot to determine.
We'll come back. We'll take a look at the two games from last week. We'll kind of preview the upcoming season. We'll talk with one of the players. Caden Morris will be joining us shortly, and we'll be back on the Coach's Corner program right after these messages.
The historic OK Cafe. Pizza, calzones, subs, sandwiches, and more.
Our fresh dough is made daily, topped with your favorite ingredients and made to order.
Stop in for our lunch buffet or check out our many daily specials.
Looking for something to do?
Come in and check out our giant projector screen on game days. Sing with friends on karaoke nights and dance the night away with live entertainment from your favorite local bands.
So even though Rex might have a short reach, we'll never come up short on service.
So remember, when you're hungry, check out the OK Cafe, home of the giant 20-inch Pizzasaurus Rex made to order. Dine in, carry out, or delivery. Come to the historic OK Cafe, located at 734 East Center Street, Marion made for over 80 years.
Once again, back on the Coach's Corner program, and since this is the start of a new year, a reminder you can catch the show on Spectrum at 4 in the morning, at noon, and at 8 o'clock in the evening. And of course, you can always check it out on YouTube. Donnie, how many years now head coach for Harding?
Oh, this is the 6th year at Harding, but too many to count overall.
We had an opening game last week against Kenton, just talking to you a little before we went on the air. Typical opening game, I guess.
It was.
A little sloppy, to use your phrase, I think.
Typical opening game. Kenton was, they're a very good team. They're very skilled. They don't play a lot of guys, but the kids that they play, they're top 7 kids, they can all really pass it, shoot it, and dribble it. And they give you so many looks defensively. I think as I watched that film, they played 7 different defenses against us. And not making excuses or reasons, we didn't play very well in the opener. 7 different defenses is a tall order for game 1. Mm-hmm. It's a big advantage for them doing that early in the year. I think as the year goes on, that becomes less of an advantage. In fact, I think at some point it becomes a disadvantage because you have so many things that you have to practice then, playing so many defenses. But early in the year, the confusion factor and everybody's level of preparedness, it's a distinct advantage the first few weeks for sure.
Kind of talk a little bit about your scrimmage schedule and how you felt you performed during the scrimmages.
Scrimmages were good. We scrimmaged over at Lexington with Lexington and Huron. A competitive scrimmage is one of those days that I can't even tell you how many quarters we won or lost, but I can tell you what we did well and what we needed to work on afterward, which is what we're after in that first scrimmage. I felt like all 3 teams got a lot out of that scrimmage. It was well played. Our second scrimmage was here at home with we traveled again to Highland on our second scrimmage, and we played extremely well at Highland. They're a young and experienced team this year. Typically a pretty solid basketball program at Highland, and I think they're going to be good again. They're just inexperienced right now, and we played very well that night. So that was that one was a little bit one-sided. And then we scrimmaged. Our final scrimmage was supposed to be Norwalk. Steve Gray's up at Norwalk. Yeah. I'm sure you remember Steve. Steve was the first person that I ever coached with. I was his JV coach years and years ago. but Norwalk had to cancel because of the football playoffs.
All right.
So we ended up with, and we included Ridgedale that night because Michael Matthey, our JV coach last year, is now the head coach at Ridgedale and doing a great job there. So we advertised for another school and ended up with Northmore, and Northmore came in and they were big, very big. So that ended up being a good scrimmage as well. We saw some different things. So happy with our scrimmages. Our first game was a little sloppy on our end, a game we could have won but didn't. And then the second game, I thought we gutted out a tough win on the road against Pleasant.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from the two contests last week. First of all, we'll take a look at the Kenton game.
Kenton comes in with 4 kids that have played since varsity since they were in 9th grade. That was a good play by Jacob Malone and Tobias Thompson-Reese, both on the ground for a loose ball. Turns into a transition basket for Tito. Tobias goes by Tito, so that's what we call him.
I'll have to remember that then.
Yeah, he's a good player, and that was a nice play. Joey Hammond hits a 3. They surprised us with one of their zone defenses. We moved the ball nicely, and Joey gets an open rhythm 3 and makes it. James made a very nice close out there and got a deflection on that ball. It was James Netters. He's a junior, one of our guards. Really nice play on that basketball that turns into a transition opportunity that got us a putback basket by Caden Morris. Saw Mitch hit a corner 3. He loves that corner. Anytime we can find him with his feet down, he's pretty good there. And then you saw Jacob Malone hit a deep jumper as well. Caden Morris hits a 3. The issue that night for us was their zones. Because of their zones, we fell in love with the three-point line and didn't attack the basket enough. So we weren't at the free throw line. We just too perimeter oriented. But some good individual plays by our kids. Caden with another good play there. Caden led us in scoring that night with 11. There were good things, even though it was a sloppy start and a game we didn't win. There were still good things. Now here we are at Pleasant. You see Tobias Tito gets a steal, hits Caden. Caden with a nice finish in traffic. Again, James he's just always around the basketball. Deflections. He's not a big guy. He's 5'10" with some pretty good wingspan, but he makes things happen. You saw Mitch hit a corner 3 and then another 3 up top. He's a very good shooter when his feet are still. Darnell, one of our longer athletes off the bench, real nice hustle, a couple of real nice hustle plays, and then he gets what we call a rim run basket there. Good attack by Caden. We're just still real active. I thought we attacked the basket way, way better at Pleasant. We still took some open 3s and rhythm 3s when they were there, but we attacked the basket so much better. Caden led us in scoring again at Pleasant with 21. He's been a real nice, don't want to say surprise, but he's been a real pleasant addition. He played JV last year as a sophomore, and as a junior, sometimes it takes a while to make that adjustment to varsity basketball. But what he's been able to do in our scrimmages and in our first 2 games is he has a very quick first step, and he's been able to get past people. And he's a long athlete. He's about 6'2", and he jumps well. So if he has that ability, that speed on the perimeter to get past people, and the size around the basket to still finish, and it's been a real welcome addition to our offense. And hopefully we can continue to work on some of the things that he does a lot of things well already, but we want to enhance what he does well and work on some ball handling things and some jump stop issues around the basket and just really clean up, and he's going to be really hard to guard.
You mentioned Michael going to Ridgedale. Talk a little bit about your coaching staff this year.
Okay. I love my coaching staff, just a real solid staff. We lost John Schroeder to retirement. John, for the Marion basketball fans,
finally retired.
They all know who he is. He was my coach in high school, and so that dates him a little bit, but was one of my favorite people in the world for sure. Just rock solid person. One of those people that you want your kids to spend time with. So we lose him to retirement, which is a big loss, but and then we lose Michael Matthey. Michael was an ex-player of mine that had come back to coach with me. here at Harding. Was teaching phys ed at Hayes Elementary, and they loved him there and hated to lose him, but Ridgedale offered him a head coaching job and a physical education position to go with it, and he took that. He'll do a really nice job there. So we've replaced those guys, or not replaced them, but we've filled those spots. We've just shuffled around a little bit. Dustin Ellis has been my varsity assistant all 5 years I've been here at Harding, and prior to that at Bishop Reedy. And he's one of the best teachers in our building, and he's just one of those guys that can teach anything. Whether it's basketball or global logistics or calculus, he just he's just a good teacher. And we've moved him from varsity assistant to JV. We wanted to get a little more teaching with our younger guys and get them more varsity ready at the JV level. So to fill his varsity assistant spot, Evan Geyer, our previous girls coach, he had a job change, a career change that has left him unable to be the girls' head coach this year. The time commitment's less to be a varsity assistant, so we were lucky enough to snag him, and he's helping us this year, and it's been a real nice addition. So, and at the freshman level, we have Cody Hecker back again this year doing a really good job, and then we've got two guys that joined us this year for the first time on a volunteer basis. Nate Riddle. Nate played for Dustin and I a few years ago here at Harding, and he's living in the community, and Nate's been a JV assistant and doing a great job. And Trey Price. Trey is another Harding kid that's back here doing some substitute teaching and just a good person, and he's joined our staff as a freshman assistant.
All right, very good. Welcome back. Coach Worstell mentioned Caden. We're going to talk with Caden, and we'll be back with more on our Coach's Corner program right after these words. And this is the segment where we talk to one or sometimes a couple of the players. And Caden Morris is going to join me for this segment. Caden, thank you for coming out. Coach Worstell had a lot of nice things to say about you.
Yeah.
You're a junior. Talk a little bit about that transition. You played JV ball last year. Talk a little bit about the transition from JV to varsity basketball, because it's a big transition.
Yeah, it's a somewhat of a bigger transition, a lot faster and more aggressive. Wasn't really harder for me to transition into it. I played with a lot of the people that are on varsity with last year, so it really just helped with playing against other teams, because they're in practice they were hard to play against because they're good defenders or whatever, and it just really helped me translate to games.
You've been playing basketball for how long?
Probably since 5th grade.
Okay, so you picked it up then basically, and you've been kind of a gym rat ever since. I know you not only play basketball, you play football and you play track.
Yeah.
Coach Worstell's standing in the room, so unfair question, but what's your favorite sport?
Probably be track.
Okay, all right. Basketball's a close second though, right?
Yeah, it's up there.
Talk a little bit about maybe your strengths as a basketball player and maybe what you still need to work on.
My strengths would probably be driving to the hoop predominantly. That's probably my best thing I can do. Baseline drives and just finishing with contact. Probably work on shooting a little more in my ball handling.
Talk a little bit about defense. Are you a good defender?
Defensively, I'm pretty above average. I'm pretty decent at getting blocks and just trying to stay in front of my man.
Talk a little bit about maybe your expectations this year and maybe the expectations for the team.
Definitely to win the conference and be the best player I can be, improve my jump shot, work on everything that I can fix, improve my finishing, and just win the conference overall.
You know, Coach talked about the first game being kind of sloppy, which is kind of typical for a lot of teams'
Definitely.
First game of the year. It sounds like you saw a lot of improvement, though, from the first game to the second game.
Yeah, definitely.
You got, you mentioned the MOAC. I know the MOAC, and you played football.
Yeah.
You knew how tough the MOAC was in football.
Mm-hmm.
I think the MOAC is going to be just as tough in basketball. There's a lot of really good basketball teams out
Definitely.
there. Appreciate you being on, and I know we'll probably have you on again before the end of the season, and
Thank you.
best of luck throughout the course of the season. I know that you're going to be one of the go-to guys for Harding.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks, Caden. We'll be back, and we'll wrap up this edition of the Coach's Quarter program right after these words.
This message brought to you by FEMA. Home fires occur most often in winter. Keep anything that can catch fire at least 3 feet from heating equipment. And never use an oven to heat your home. Stay in the kitchen when frying, grilling, or broiling food. Turn space heaters off when you leave the room or go to bed. Make sure all vents are clear of snow and ice to allow carbon monoxide to vent outside. Have your furnace, heating system, and chimneys serviced each year by a qualified professional. Learn more at www.usfa.fema.gov.
Once again, back on the Coach's Quarter program, and again, we've been doing this for many, many years. Always a program I look forward to doing every week. And of course, we'll take a little break off for the Christmas break, but
Right.
We'll do another show next week, and then we'll get into January. You know how good the MOAC was in football, and a lot of football players that are on basketball teams in the MOAC, and it should really be an exciting MOAC basketball season.
It's going to be a very athletic league this
Yeah.
year. You know, we were at Pleasant Saturday afternoon, which we've talked about a little bit, and I was just so impressed with their level of athleticism. You know, they're an inexperienced basketball team because they graduated several 3-year players last year, but their kids are athletic, and I think that's going to be across the board this year. You know, I know Shelby has got great size and strength. Ontario's got tremendous guard play returning, and they're just juniors this year, so they're for the next 2 years their guard play is going to be just outstanding. And then of course at Clear Fork you got last year's Player of the Year in the league, Brendan South. So River Valley's a much improved team. I really like our kids this year. I like our team, so it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, you may have a lot of teams in the league that have 4 or 5 losses. It'll be good teams, but it's just going to be tough to go through that MOAC week in and week out.
I think you're right. I just think it's going to be one of those leagues makes it fun for the fans. Anybody can beat anybody. There's not going to be off nights. There's one of my assistant coaches calls them overlooks. There's no overlook on the schedule. You know, there's just no overlook on the schedule. You better do your homework. You better do your prep work, and you better be ready to play on every night, or you're going to come out on the wrong end of things.
We've got one game this week, but it's a big one.
It is. Yeah, we're home with Galleon for our second league game. You know, we're off to a 1-0 start in the league, which is important. And you know, every league game is important, but you've got to win the home ones. So you know, we're looking forward to Friday. This week has been nice. It feels like we have a lot of prep time for this game, and then after this, our schedule gets pretty busy.
Yeah, when I think of Galleon, I think of Isaiah Alsop.
Very good player. You know, we said Brennan South was Player of the Year in the league last year. Isaiah Alsop, he's a candidate, a strong candidate.
Like
for
a 1 and 1A.
Yeah, yes, for sure. He's an outstanding player, and he's so versatile. And Coach Gossam, you know, Coach Gossam used to be an assistant here. He's the head coach at Galleon now, and he's using him in a Princeton offense and using him a little differently than they have in the past. And it's made the rest of the team more difficult to defend because you're so worried about his talents. But it's also opened him up in the middle of the floor for one-on-one driving opportunities, which he's so strong at. So he's going to be a handful, and we'll have to have a good plan in place by Friday.
All right, interesting. Appreciate you being on. Look forward to another exciting season this year.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you, Donnie. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Coach's Corner program. For Don Worstell, I'm Jeff Ruth.